we ask you what questions you have? You don't read she'll answer them.
I submitted to Comer a letter with 6 or 7 questions. Things like, who were the other co-conspirators? Who were the other men who raped these underage girls? Did she have any conversations about a deal with Donald Trump? Now, she's taken a blanket Fifth Amendment on any question. And my view is that many of my questions don't in any way incriminate her. So we'll see what she does. But there's 7 questions that I have specifically asked. And the assumption is she's pleading the fifth to each one of those. And the American people will see that there's an inconsistency. Why did she not plead the fifth when Blanche asked her questions? And now she's pleading the fifth about things that don't implicate her, but may implicate many of the other powerful people in the Epstein class that committed these crimes.
I understand you're headed to DOJ this afternoon with
Thomas Massey. We're going to be there at 3 o'clock. I think it says flight lands, and then we're headed over. And then we'll have a small availability after 5 o'clock, right after we're done with the documents.
This is something else the committee's looking at, this idea that they're investigating the finances of Ms. Omar.
Yeah.
This is part of this fraud investigation here, but they say, her wealth has shot up geometrically the past few years.
I don't think that we should be playing politics with this committee. It's unprecedented to go after another member. There's a procedure. There's a House Ethics Committee. So we should be focused on who raped these underage girls, who committed these crimes, and why we have a rich and powerful class that feels they're above the law.
Do you think they're trying to pin that on her just because it's a question of race? It's a question of...
I don't know, but I've been on the Oversight Committee now 10 years. We've never done that with members. There's a different procedure for House Ethics, which we have. So I don't know why we're trying to politicize the committee. I'd rather, what I do think Chair Comer should do? He should call a House Oversight Subcommittee on the Epstein hearings and haul in every single person who's in those files who's talked about going to the Epstein Island. That is something I would support. It could be bipartisan. He could have a Republican chair, a Democratic ranking member, have a committee, and let's start the hearings next week.
Mr. Khanna, a British question, if I may. What do you say to the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, and to Peter Mandelson, with regard to giving evidence to your committee?
Mandelson may bring down the whole government, from what I hear. He just engaged in terrible behavior. I mean, the allegations are very serious that he was working for Gordon Brown and then feeding information about UK possibly buying euros and having Epstein trade on that. I mean, it is a deeply, deeply troubling. And, Epstein's, I saw this interview with Epstein's former girlfriend talking about how someone is a loser if they weren't mentioned in the Epstein Files. It's a window into the elite impunity, this club. And by the way, I think this is the most vulnerable the British monarchy has ever been. I mean, I heard they were asking the Queen questions about the Epstein class. They ought to ask the King and Queen questions, and maybe this will be the end of the monarchy.
What do you think it could be the end of the monarchy?
Well, if they don't have answers, or if they're implicated with an Epstein class, not a good look for the British monarchy.
What questions does the King have to answer?
Well, the King has to answer what he knew. What he knew about Andrew. And just stripping Andrew of a title is not enough. I mean, Andrew needs to come before our committee and start answering questions. I mean, look, if you have allegations of raping a young girl, I don't think the appropriate punishment is you no longer get to be a prince. There's got to be more than that.
Do you think the royal family must have known something they're not telling us?
They need to answer, the King and Queen, and I don't understand. I mean, I don't understand the British custom, but what's up with this, that you're going and someone's asking the Queen a question, the Queen is offended that she's being asking a question? I mean, come on. She wears the same clothes, she eats the same food, she's just a human being. She needs to answer the same questions anyone does.
Congressman, what do you think of the Clintons asking for their testimony to be public rather than behind closed doors?
I believe that they should be public. They have cooperated. They're answering all the questions. I'm glad they are. And I think Donald Trump should, but it should be public. I mean, let's have all these hearings public for anyone mentioned in the Epstein Files. I've got to get to the...